Hello YouTubers, Wonky73 here, bringing to you a new thing which I can call the Real Making Do Midweek How-To. Now I'm not going to bring one every week because I don't know if I have that much how-to in me. But one thing I want to do when I started the Real Making Do was I decided doing some how-to videos to show you ways to save money, ways to get by, ways to fix things you already have. So today we're going to be doing something that I do a lot. We're going to be baking bread. Since I started this, I haven't bought bread from anybody else. I've been making my own bread. Why would this be part of the Real Making Do? Well, it's cheaper than buying baked bread of the same quality. To get, organic bread, fresh loaves baked is about $4 to $5. The ingredients for this cost about $2. You could obviously go down to the grocery store and buy some mass-produced bread for like $1.50 or something. So that would be cheaper. But this is, no preservatives. Organic hippy-dippy flour, everything's like great. And Jobu is rubbing against the camera, knocking it around. Why are you doing, Jobu? Why are you loving the camera, the tripod? It's just a. You're not even on camera. So. Bread is very, very simple. Staple civilization. I know what's a staple civilization. It's easy to make and it tastes really good. This stuff comes out of the oven, tastes so better than anything you get at a grocery store. Bread only takes 6 ingredients: water, yeast. Make sure I don't end up with the middle finger here. Flour of some sort. You can use all sorts of different flour. Today we're just using white. I'll explain that in a second. Sugar, a form of sugar, salt, and a form of fat. Now you can actually, I've been playing around with what fat and sugar I use. So, it's a pretty simple list of ingredients, easy to measure. Yeast tends to come in these little packets. And the general ingredients are 2 cups of flour for 1 yeast packet. And 2 cups of flour will makes a nice little, for about an 8-inch loaf pan. Makes a fairly good amount of bread. It's not very good for sandwiches, so I'm actually making a 2 yeast packet, 4 cup of flour today to make in a bigger pan to make sandwich loaves for my lunches. Because the other ones, a little too small, make little tiny sandwiches. So, and I'm just going to be making white bread with just white all-purpose flour, organic flour, because I want it for sandwiches. So it still tastes really, really good and better than this. And we're going to play around with the sugar and fat we're using. So, 1 cup of warm water. They say 110 degrees. I don't actually check it. I just kind of got used to what it should be about. 2 cups of flour. 1.5 tablespoon of the sugar. 1.5 tablespoon of the fat. And 1.5 teaspoon of salt. 1 yeast. So yeah, that's all the ingredients. So we're doubling all that for this. So we're going to. So we got our water. Warmish enough. And we're just going to dump in the packets of yeast. Now you can tell when the yeast has been nicely stirred in. It's usually a brownish, kind of weird looking stuff like this. And it smells like yeast. Now to this we add the fat, salt, and the sugar. So I've experimented with a lot of different fats and sugars, and they all seem to work well, and they all add little bits and hints of flavor. Honey's a good one. Regular white sugar is a good one. I don't know why I got the fat one. So for this year, I'm going with brown sugar because I'm using regular white flour. I want to give it a little richness to it. So I need 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. And we have the fat now. I've used butter, which works well, margarine, vegetable oil, which is pretty much margarine. That works pretty well. I'm actually going to go with olive oil, rich flavor olive oil, on this one. Once again, since I'm just using white flour, I want a little extra oomph in my other ingredients. So this is 3 tablespoons of this. And the salt, which is 3 tablespoons or 3 teaspoons of salt, which is in fact actually 1 tablespoon. So now I gotta mix all that up. Get nice and good and mixed up. So now comes the adding the flour part. Our final ingredient, which is going to be 4 cups of flour. Do it 1 cup at a time. That's a little more than a cup. is as you're working the flour, you're going to get to a point where you think, well, I've worked all the flour I can in, and then like I've only gone through 3 cups or cup and a half or whatever. Keep working on the rest of the flour. It'll take it. I haven't reached that point yet, but I will soon. We have our mass of bread dough. Take a little bit of flour, sprinkle it sort of on the top. Actually, I don't know why you do that. Now it's time for the first rise. So what I do for that is I'm going to put it in the corner of the kitchen. I cover it in the dark corner of the kitchen. And I take my little electric heater, because it's winter now, and I put it on there to keep it warm. And that's going to take about an hour 20 minutes to let it rise up again. Should go to about twice its current size, maybe. See on the other side. As you can see, the dough has fully poofified. It is now time to pound it down and to knead it. Ooh. Get a little flour on your hands here for the pound down. On the knuckles. And you're gonna need a lot on your surface area here. And you pound down. Look at it go! Oh, it all depoofed. Oh, the carbon yeasty beasties really did their job. Get all the flour out of the bowl. The point of kneading is to create gluten in the bread, distribute the yeast, and get air pockets in there, which is what will make it rise nice and fluffy. So what you do is you just use the heel of your hand and just sort of smush it around. Rotate, heel of hand. Sometimes I switch hands, rotate, heel of hand. Keep moving more and more flour from the board into the bread. Now there are all sorts of fancy ways people use to test if your kneading's done. Like you cut a piece of the bread, you look at it, can you see through it? I don't do any of that. I just kind of go by feel. Ta-da! Now, and you got to put fat in it, and I forgot the fat. You have to grease the pan, and for this I'm actually just going to use vegetable oil. You can use olive oil or butter or whatever. Just make sure it gets on all. You gotta get your fingers in there. Get on the sides. Actually makes the bread very yummy too, because the fat gets when it breaks. Nice and greased. Baking bread is easy, but it is messy, which is part of the fun. Take our giant loaf of bread and plop. It's a little piece of. Now, this guy's go for a second rise. Same thing, back in the corner with the heater. This I'm going to let rise probably almost 2 whole hours. Should come out as a nice loaf looking idea. So let's see on the other side of that. And here we go. Here's the it's kind of flattened a little bit. Over 2 hours risen bread. Smells delicious. Oven's preheating 350. And here's another point where it's not an exact science. Can't tell you how long it's going to take to bake. Between 20 minutes and 35 minutes. It depends on what type of flour you use, what you want. Basically, the idea I go with is just let it cook for. Smells really good. Once you got a nice crust on the top, kind of, just a nice hard crust, you're usually good. I found it very hard to burn. There's once I forgot about it for another 10 minutes. It was in there for like 45 minutes. It was fine. So, 350 oven, bake. Sometimes I like to put a little oil on top. And that's it. I'm not going to take you to the rest of the bread. After it comes out, you take it out of the loaf pan and put this down. To store it and preserve it, what you do, you gotta wait till it cools down, cut it with a bread knife, a bread knife, a serrated edge knife, and then in a thin slices. Then what you do is you wrap those in plastic wrap and put them in the freezer. It never usually lasts about more than a week anyway, because I eat it all. But in freezing it and then you just thaw it out, maybe put it in the microwave for a little bit, it's still good. It still tastes great. So it doesn't seem to lose any flavor through the freezing process. So that's it. That is the first of the real making do midweek how-tos.